Destiny 2's Season of Dawn brought a lot of changes to subclass abilities and mods. Now more than ever, the game feels like a true action RPG, but at the end of the day, it will always be a first-person shooter. That's why I was so surprised when the coolest weapon that got added this season isn't a normal gun. The Martyr's Retribution is the weapon we'll be talking about today, and it's a new archetype of single-shot grenade launcher. Instead of shooting a standard grenade, it shoots a thermite grenade. Titan mains will be very familiar with this. Upon contact with the ground, the projectile releases a wave that damages all enemies it hits. Its damage output isn't great, but the devastation it causes is phenomenal. The wave that gets created stretches over a huge area, and your projectile's point of impact creates a decent-sized explosion as well. With good placement, you can hit a few enemies with the initial blast, and the wave will carry on damaging even more targets. With that said, you must keep in mind that the Martyr's projectiles don't explode when they hit an enemy, so you have to get used to aiming at the ground near your targets instead of directly at them. This also means you won't be able to do anything against airborne targets with the Martyr's Retribution, so make sure your heavy weapon or primary weapon can deal with them. Also, jagged terrain can cause your wave of fire to veer off in a random direction, and that can be insanely frustrating. Besides having to slightly alter the way you shoot, the Martyr's Retribution and other single-shot grenade launchers also change the way you want to engage with enemies. These weapons are very efficient if you can place your shots well, and if your loadout is kitted with ammo scavengers, finders, and reserves for them, you'll have more than enough ammo to clear out all the trash in an encounter without having to switch to your primary often. It gives a new meaning to the term special weapon. Typically, guns like shotguns and snipers that use special ammo get pulled out to deal with major enemies that are too beefy for a primary, but the Martyr's Retribution is all about clearing hordes of red bars. It's filling a special role that feels more unique than close range, mid-range, or long-range DPS. But even so, it can still hold its own against majors and champions, but it needs a little bit of help. Thankfully, with the right trait combination, that help is easy to find. My favorite combination for the Martyr's Retribution is Field Prep and Demolitionist. Field Prep increases your ammo reserves, and while crouched, your reload speed is significantly increased, and Demolitionist reduces the cooldown of your grenade when you get kills with the weapon, and throwing a grenade reloads it. Because the Martyr has a single round magazine, you'll be reloading a lot. But being able to occasionally use your grenade ability to reload the gun feels really nice. There are also a lot of ways to increase your grenade ability capacity from 1 to 2. Doing so will let you wombo combo a volley of damage at bosses without having to stop and reload. The only downside is grenades have a long base cooldown of almost 2 minutes, but there are a lot of ways to work around this. Before we close out, we're going to look at a few things you can do with your loadout to help improve the effectiveness of the Martyr's Retribution and this grenade-centric playstyle. The Season of Dawn introduced a new mechanic called Charged with Light. To interact with this mechanic, you need 2 seasonal mods, one to generate charges of light and one to spend them. For my setup, I'm using Taking Charge. Picking up Orbs of Light grants a charge of light. And Firepower. You consume 1 charge of light to slightly reduce the cooldown of your grenade on your next throw. Next, because I like to dial things up to 11, I'm going to play as the Sunbreaker Titan's bottom branch, Code of the Siegebreaker. This branch has the passive ability Soul Invictus and Sun Warrior. Solar ability kills create a sunspot, and standing inside a sunspot speeds up ability regeneration. Add all of this together with a high discipline stat on my armor, and I'll be throwing grenades like an angry flaming Santa Claus. It's very satisfying, and it works. Overall, even though I haven't seen the other weapons that are going to be released with the Sundial, the Martyr's Retribution is already my favorite. It's incredibly powerful in its intended role of clearing out huge packs of enemies efficiently, but it struggles against strong majors and champions. You can make up for some of its weaknesses by focusing your build around grenade throwing, and if you get a roll with Demolitionist, you'll be in possession of one of the most versatile weapons in the game. And there we go, that's going to do it for the review of the Martyr's Retribution. I said it before, but I'll say it again, this weapon is fantastic, and you should definitely try to get your hands on one. With all of that said, we're going to wrap things up here, but don't worry, there's plenty more coming in the future. I've been playing a lot of Titan lately, and I feel like I'm neglecting my main, which is the Warlock, so I'm gonna mess around with that and experiment with the Dawnblade changes. If you are one of my super awesome patrons, there's gonna be a Patreon exclusive video this week, so keep an eye out for that. And while I have you here, I want to give you all a special shout out. Algino, Alex, Alfred, Avi, Evipen, Gabriel, Glenn, Jason, J, Joseph, Caliph, Khalid Kunaka, Miniflame, Musa, Papa Nurse, Ronaldo, Roland, Soul, Slen, the Macman, Tower Watch, and Ziona. Thank you so much for your continued support. It is incredible, and you guys are freaking awesome. And if you're not a patron and you enjoyed this video and you'd like to support the channel more than you already do just by watching, liking, subscribing, and commenting, you can head over to patreon.com/iBluairJgR to become a patron. As always, the name of the game is Destiny 2, the name of the channel is iBluairJgR. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.